With the newest Naked Gun now playing in theaters, we officially have 4 Naked Gun movies, so why not rank them?
Nobody messes with Police Squad.
That's the sound of the police!
Now for me, this Legacy sequel is the weakest one out of this entire franchise. Now yes, don't get me wrong, I did laugh here and there, but only about 15% of the film. And when you have a comedy that is only 15% funny, you failed. Because when you're watching a comedy, you're not going in there for the story, for the acting, you're going in there to laugh. And when you only laugh about 15% of the film and your expectations were to have an absolute blast with the film, laughing your head off, then of course, the comedy failed its job. And even then, it's not just the jokes that bring this movie down, but all the good jokes are all spoiled in the trailers, and everything we're left with in the film is not funny. Now yes, we do get about 5 jokes here and there that are funny, but a majority of them are not. And don't get me wrong, with all these Naked Gun movies, the tone is of course stupid because it's a comedy, but this sequel is 10 times more stupid, and 10 times more stupid does not equal funny. Like there's this entire snowman sequence that if you've seen the film you know what it is, but that's just stupid. Why is that in there? It makes absolutely zero sense. It's a comedy, but it's too stupid. And this comedy focused way too much on the story. Like I mentioned before, we don't go into a comedy wanting the story, we go in to make it laugh. But this movie tried to have high stakes, high tension, when in reality, it's just a comedy. You can't have that. And that was proven in the final act where I did not care what was happening at all. I wanted to have a fun time. I got 15% of that. The rest is pretty mediocre.
Have you seen my pigeon?
Naked Gun 33 and a third. The final insult.
It's the 3rd film of the original trilogy, and even after 3 films, they're still able to capture all the same magic in the original film. The jokes are still there, the tone is still there, and this film is still hilarious. But this time, especially compared to the first 2 films, the humor in here is a lot more over the top. There's a lot of jokes in here where, yes, they're hilarious, but they're extremely over the top. Not stupid like the Legacy sequel, but just over the top. They're kind of overdoing it with their jokes. They're trying to make it too funny. They're trying to force all this humor in. That the jokes just become too over the top and bloated with ridiculously amount of stupidity. Now a lot of scenes do stand out because of the humor, and there are a lot of great jokes in here. But also a lot of the humor is brought down because the humor is so over the top. And the cop story isn't good until the awards section. You're kind of bored of the cop story until that segment. At least the story is good in these 3 films, unlike the Legacy sequel. I laughed a lot more, although this one is extremely over the top. I laughed a lot more than the Legacy sequel, so it lands right here and still a good film.
The Naked Gun 2 and a half. The Smell of Fear.
Now real quick, if you want to help me reach my goal of 1K by the end of the year, consider subscribing. Let's continue. Now I did originally think that this was better than the first movie when I first watched it, but given more thought, the first one is better, but the second one's not too far behind. It's still as fun as the original movie and is still able to keep everything great about the original film, but in this sequel. The jokes are still there, the tone is still there, and the cop story is all there. Everything great about the original movie is just all in here. But this sequel feels a little forced on the comedy. The first movie, yes, it's a comedy, so the characters still act stupid and some wild stuff happens, but the comedy had a certain flow to it that didn't really make it feel forced, just these cops were stupid. In this second movie, the comedy feels a little bit forced in there. Some jokes are just a crazy amount of stupidity that just some jokes don't work, while other jokes work better. Yes, it has everything great about the original film, but does not flow as nicely as that original film does. And I do like the baseball sequence more in the first film to make that one a bit higher up. But this is still a fantastic sequel to the original film.
In color. The Naked Gun. From the files of Police Squad.
Coming this Christmas to a theater near you.
But of course, the original film is in first place. When watching this, I was expecting a fun little comedy, and that's exactly what I got. A fun time. What I wanted from the Legacy sequel is what I got in the original film. I'm a fan of cop detective movies, so this movie was everything I liked, while also adding a lot of comedy in there, and it all worked for me. Consistent laughter, and I like the cop detective story, like I mentioned, the baseball game sequence. And thanks to the comedy, everything is now 10 times more enjoyable than it would have been if it was just a normal cop detective movie. Who wouldn't want to have a fun time laughing at these cops being silly? That's exactly what this movie delivers on. Consistent laughter throughout the entire film, especially that final act. This was a fun comedy and a fun watch, and represents the entire Naked Gun franchise. But anyways, if you like this video, maybe these ones on the side interest you too, like, subscribe, see you guys next time, goodbye.